Hello everyone, it's Dragana from Saacibo. Welcome and welcome back to my channel. Today's video I'm starting a little bit different. First you're going to see the results of my experiments and then I will explain how to achieve this look. And we will also experiment a little bit using different tools to get this result. And I also want to share with you something that I've discovered by chance, and it worked really well. The examples that you see here were done only with leaves and paper. The technique is very easy to do and it gives great results. This must be the easiest eco-printing technique that I've ever tried, and I discovered this by accident, and I will explain later on in the video when we start the tutorial how this all came about. I've only tested this technique on leaves, on green parts of the plants. I haven't tested it on flowers, but I will probably in the near future or as soon as I have fresh flowers available. I'm curious to see if the flowers, for example, if it was a red flower or purple flower, I'm curious to see whether the pigment or dye will transfer onto the paper. You will see in these examples that some leaves gave brownish prints, some gave really green prints, which was a surprise to me, and some were even almost like light yellow. I was very pleased with the results. I really did not expect this to go this well, especially because I was planning to do something completely different, and I ended up with some really nice eco prints. Some leaves were easier to peel off, for example this one, and some were a bit more difficult to remove from the paper. Whenever I encountered a problem or a leaf that was stuck to the paper, I used my brush to actually brush away those little bits that were left. Gently, of course. I did not want to damage the paper, but just, a little bit brushing over these areas actually helped to remove the little bits of leaves or branches that were stuck to the paper. I was really amazed how some leaves left beautiful, clear green prints. I'm not sure what I will do with these prints. I don't have any specific plans, but I suspect it will be something for my junk journals, to do tags, specimens, decorations, and so on. This print turned out really well. I think I was very surprised with the amount of detail that was in the print. Another good thing about these prints is that with each print I got both sides of the leaves or the plant printed, and it just gave me an idea that perhaps if I decide to turn some of these prints into like specimen cards, I will definitely have the front and the back of the leaf print, because they were perfect mirror images. This oak tree print must be my favorite. I had a bit of a trouble with this one in particular. I used 3 different leaves and 2 of them turned out beautifully, and the third one got stuck terribly to the other side, and I had to rip the paper a little bit to get it open. I think in that instance the leaf that caused me problems was the cherry tree leaf, and it must have been sticky or something and I didn't check it, but that other leaf, the hazelnut tree and the other one, they turned out beautiful, so I kept the print, although the part with that other leaf that was stuck didn't really print so well, but I just decided not to give up on it. It did take me a while to peel that off. Later on, I don't think I show this in the video, but later on I actually sprayed it with water a little bit to try and remove what was left. It wasn't that successful. Now this one was very nice. I think this was a willow tree branch, and I really liked how that one turned out. That's another one of my favorites, I think, especially on the right where the leaves were more green. I think that one turned out really, really nice. With this one, I'm not sure what sort of tree it could have been. Also cherry or apple or plum on one of these. I think some leaves were turned on one side and some on the other, so I had about 3 leaves on one side that were yellow and the rest were white, and this on the other side it was the opposite. But it turned out really nice, and it didn't give really brown or green color, more like a yellowish, really light yellow green or something, ochre or something like that. Still very interesting. I mentioned at the start that I tried something to make the pale prints stand out a bit more, and that worked really well. So yeah, I will share that with you later on as well. Grapevine leaves also were a little bit stuck to the paper, but I managed to take them off, and I really liked how the print turned out. Another reason why they might have stuck a little bit more to the paper than the rest of them is because I put more leaves, like 2 layers of leaves, one over the other, and yes, it caused the print to be a little bit more moist from the leaves, but I managed to clean it up and it looked really good in the end. Another one of my favorites must be this one. I used walnut tree leaves and they gave me a beautiful brown color and lovely design. I really like this one too. And here is another one of these. Again, turned out very good. I did not expect this to give me such beautiful green color. It is definitely worth exploring further. After I cleaned all the prints, I placed them on the floor, flat, and I let them completely dry. This is the second part of the video in which I show you how to achieve these results. I am filming this 2 days later simply because I wanted to see if these prints are going to change their color. And from what I can see, they basically stayed more or less the same. Those that were brown stayed brown, some were more like yellow and they stayed yellow, and the green ones stayed green, so not much change. I think they stayed almost the same as they were when I first revealed them. As you can see here, this is just a quick flip through. Sorry if I'm going too fast. Okay, and with the bigger ones, you see that one stayed green to my surprise. It didn't really change much, that one either. And, you know, usually if you were doing eco printing, it's really hard to achieve green color sometimes. Although all the leaves are green, but when you do eco printing, there's not much green there. Usually turns brown or some other color. But yeah, I love this one. They stayed much less the same, and I'm thrilled. But I'm going to show you now how to do these, and I also want to show you something else that you can do to make them like this. Okay, this is very dramatic, and just one simple ingredient will turn your prints, these prints, to black. Unbelievable. So let's have a look how to achieve this. Okay, now I want to show you how I've done this, and I'm going to do exactly as I've done the first time around. I wanted to emboss this paper with leaves. That was my intention, to get embossed paper, but I ended up with something completely different. So I just took a leaf, put it between two sheets of paper, and I used my big shot. Okay, I put all the platforms there, all the ones that I had, because I wanted really a lot of pressure. I wanted it to be difficult so that I know that it actually worked. And then I just placed this and I put it through. So my intention was to get an embossed piece of paper. I wanted to have leaf embossing. And I went several times back and forth, thinking this is going to be nice. Oops. Thinking this is going to be nicely embossed. And then I've noticed this. I realized these leaves are fresh. And yeah, so this is what happened. Okay, this is what I got. It's like a shadow of this leaf, shadow print, and very little embossing. And because I wanted to emboss the leaves into the paper, I was a bit disappointed, so I just left it. And the following day, I thought, let's just explore this idea a bit more. So I gathered a lot of leaves and I started doing that. The second time around, once I put that through the Sizzix, I left it like that underneath a heavy book for a couple of hours. And then I filmed the first part of the video in which you saw me reveal the prints. So I think a couple of hours is probably enough for the leaf to release the juices and the paper to soak those juices. If you don't have Sizzix, you basically need something that is going to squish the leaves and the juices out of the leaves. So perhaps a rolling pin and a harder surface, and then leave underneath a heavy book. I tried that as well. I have 3 attempts with the rolling pin, and they kind of all right. Let's have a look. But I had to leave them 2 days. Okay, it takes a bit longer, and the results can be good if you're patient. So it takes a bit longer, definitely, and it's a little bit pale. So I think, you know, it depends of how strong you are, and if you can keep pressing that, and if you have maybe a press or something that can really squish those leaves well, it might work. But it's just not as clear as these. All right, perhaps I didn't press it hard enough with this, or I didn't have enough strength, but maybe I should have done it a few more times. But I'm not saying it can't be done. I'm just saying that it was so much quicker and easier with Sizzix. Okay, although the Sizzix is not meant for this. This is a Sizzix hack. All right, so these were done with a rolling pin. Okay. And of course, I didn't throw away the leaves that were left. They are now perfectly dry, and it's been only 2 days. Okay, So I pressed them. After 2 hours, I take them out of the plate, and then I left them on some book pages and some papers, and they dried completely now. So it only took about 2 days, and they're perfectly flat and really thin because we squashed them really hard with the Sizzix. Okay, so I can use these for my specimens. And another thing I didn't mention is the paper. I used this paper. It came from this sketchbook, and it's 200 GSM, so it is quite thick. You may try to do it with just ordinary copy paper. I've tried, and I suppose it's all right, but it just worked so much better with this one. So now I want to show you something else that I've discovered with this. It was also done by accident. I have tried to emboss paper with this leaf. That's the original one, and I had these two papers. Okay, you can see that it was from that. All right, and then it stayed like that, as I mentioned. Then I thought it was a little bit pale, obviously because I didn't leave it enough in between, and I was working with rust, so I thought, you know, it didn't really work out, so I'll just rust this paper and maybe use it for something else. But as soon as the rust touched the areas where the leaf was, everything turned black. So I started experimenting more. Okay, here I've added some inks as well. So that is one amazing thing that happens with this, is as soon as the rust touches the areas where the leaf was, it turns dark. Not with all leaves. If the leaf itself has a lot of dye or something that will react with the rust, it will turn black. If it doesn't, it will stay pale, like this one. Okay, as you can see, this one turned perfectly. I can't believe. I've added some inks on top just to make it more interesting, but look at that one. That one turned completely black. Okay, so these were just like my different attempts, but I want to show you now how to do that. So I have here some rust. If you don't know how to make rust water, I will leave the link to the video in which I explain how you can make your own rust water. All right, now this one has just been pressed and it is really pale. Let's see if it's going to change the color now that we applied the rust. Wow, look at that. This is just so amazing to me. I don't know. And this was just by accident, you know. So I encourage everyone, if you have an idea, what about if I try this? Just try it. You never know what you're going to come up with. Perhaps this was done before. I don't know. Maybe someone else came up with this idea. But to me, it is new. And it's just something that I discovered, you know, by experimenting. Even this side, it's changing color immediately. This is just so amazing to me. It's like a perfect leaf print with just rust leaf paper and pressure from the Sizzix. I love this so much. And of course the rust will turn more orange as it dries. You have to be aware. It does look really light now, but it will get darker. Now I wanted to see if these ones are going to change the color. As I said, I use rolling pin for these ones. And the transfer is not that obvious, but perhaps when I add rust it might change. I don't know. Let's just see. It did change a little bit. Okay, it did change a little bit, but not enough. Let's try this one. It seems to be a bit more going on. No, not much. Another thing is, this is just freshly, how do I say, freshly squeezed leaf. And these ones were done 2 days ago. I don't know if that makes a difference, but I don't think it's working on these. So yeah, if you are going to use rolling pin or something else, just test on one until you get the hang of it, until you get the right amount of pressure. It has to be really pressed well. All right, now let's try some of the ones that I've done the other day, and I kind of like them like this, but I also want to see what they can look like if I add rust. I'm going to try this one. This was done with grape wine, so I'm just going to apply it to one side. Yeah, it does turn dark even after a few days, so it doesn't have to be freshly squeezed. All right. Oh my gosh. Just so amazing to me. I don't know. Am I the only one who thinks this is really interesting? And then, of course, if you don't want just black and orange, you can go ahead and spray with some other inks just to get a little bit of variety in color. And these are like perfect mirror images. So in this case, I could just turn the paper like that, glue them together, and then cut them out, and it will be like a perfect specimen. Now here, in this example, I have sprayed with some other inks on top here as well. I don't know if that was successful or not, but I just had to experiment, just adding a few. But, you know, it's totally up to you. You can do that later as well once this is dry, if you don't want it to react with the rust. Let's try this one. Just to make it clear, this is not going to work on every leaf, but obviously with this one it's working. Oh, it's getting really dark. So rust must kind of react with something in the leaf, or those juices or whatever, that, you know, when you do, wow, that's really dark now. You know, when you do eco dyeing and you boil or cook some leaves to get certain colors, and then when you add rust they become darker. Obviously it's not going to work with all the leaves. Have a look at this one. You can barely see it. It's one of these. I think I have another one here that I haven't treated. Just give me a second to find it. Yeah, it was like this, okay, but when I added rust it just changed a little bit. You know, it did not work. It didn't go black or dark, so it's not going to be the same for each leaf. It depends on what they have inside of them. I don't know how to explain. I think you probably know what I mean. Let's try this one, oak. Let's see if this one is going to change. It's changing. Nice. Oh, wow. As if I stamped with black ink. Even this side. Wow, so pretty. I mean, you know, I just love this. One more thing I haven't tried, and it just occurred to me now, is to apply the rust to the leaf and then run it through the Sizzix or with a rolling pin. I just want to try that now. So I'm just going to apply the rust to the leaf. So maybe that way I can get darker print without the orange background. That's the idea anyway. We'll see what will happen. So I'm just going to apply the rust to the leaf. Okay, put that away. That as well. And I'm going to put it inside of the paper. Okay, I'm going to close that. let's see what happens. Perhaps this is even the quicker way. I think I'll just go once. Oh, you can see the black leaking everywhere. Just wipe this off quickly. Oh, it did work. So it worked even like this. Nice. Let's try with a rolling pin. Just pick a leaf. Take this one. I'm going to apply the rust. Trying not to touch it, because when you get rust on your fingers, it just stains really badly. Alright. Close. I'm going to put it onto this hard surface. It might work better. Just want to see if that's going to work better, because I would hate for anyone to want to do this, and if you don't have Sizzix, it's a bit harder. But I can tell that it's working. Just have to maybe press harder. Oh, it worked. It really worked. And I suspect it's going to get a bit more orange here with the black, and then I'll still have relatively clean background. I could even paint it in different color. That's one way of doing it. If you don't have the Sizzix, you can certainly do it with a rolling pin and applying the rust straight to the leaf. You might get better results. This is when we applied rust after, and it wasn't really good. But I'm not gonna waste this. I'm just gonna print on this side. Okay. Anyway, it can be done like this. That is it. Printing with leaves and paper and Sizzix with a touch of rust if you want to. Anyway, I think I have lots of plans for these prints, but I don't think I can fit it in this video, so maybe in one of the future videos we can use these to make something cool. And yeah, I just wanted to share this one with you. Anyway, thank you so much for watching, and I hope I see you soon in my next video. Bye for now.